Josee from stampingjoe.com, and welcome to week 2 of the February Stamping 411. So with today's card, I'm using the Let It Ride stamp set with the Crackle Paint stamp set. So I've used soft suede as my back card, and I've cut it to 5.5 by 8.5, and I'm just going to score it using my bone folder. And for the next layer, I actually used some vellum cardstock, and I'm going to stamp that with the Crackle Paint stamp. Now with that, I did try to do it just regular stamping on here, but my early espresso is quite wet and it does smear. Now I probably could have let it dry longer or heat set it, but what I'm going to show you is how to clear emboss it. So we're going to take the stamp. I'm just going to ink it up using my early espresso. Take my vellum and just lay it on top. I'm going to take a piece of regular paper and then just take my paper piercing mat just to give it nice even pressure everywhere so that I can stamp using that big stamp. So I'm just going to peel off the layers. Now be careful when you're doing this because I know I have had lots of ink on my fingers with this one. So just kind of touch the sides, and I'm going to take my clear embossing powder and just make sure that everything is covered using the embossing powder. Once I have that done, I'm going to take my heat tool and just heat it until I see it get glossy. What's fun about our clear embossing powder is that you can literally heat emboss any of our beautiful Stampin' Up! Colors. So now that I've heat embossed that, I'm just going to set that aside. And I'm going to stamp my horse onto this Scrap Whisper White. Because I'm going to be coloring this with our Stampin' Blends, I'm actually going to use our Memento Black ink pad. And just stamp that right on there. For coloring, I actually experimented with a couple of color combinations. And originally I used my crumb cake in the light and the dark to color the horse. But I actually liked it more with the light crumb cake and the bronze color. The bronze is one that comes separately. It doesn't come as a set of two. So I'm going to start with my light crumb cake, and I'm going to color my entire horse first. Now that I have my lighter color, I'm actually just going to use that bronze to start highlighting some different spots, and then I'm going to use my light color again to blend them. Once I was done coloring, I actually used some sticky paper. Now this is just kind of like a post-it note, a thick post-it note that I used. And I stamped my horse on it, and then I cut it out so that I could mask the horse that I stamped on my paper. I'm going to take back my Crackle Paint stamp. I'm just going to ink that up. Really, I only need about the middle of it. And then I'm going to use that onto my actual layer to stamp it on and just be able to stamp around that horse. I just thought it made it look a little bit more fun. So now I'm going to take back my layer for that in Early Espresso, and I'm just going to adhere that. And then we're going to add some ribbon. Now the ribbon that I chose is really pretty, and I think that it goes really well with this card. So it's the burlap ribbon. You can see the texture in it. It's just gorgeous. So we really just need 3 little snippets of it. So I'm just going to add a little bit of adhesive on the back just so that I can place them where I want them to go. So I want 2 on the right hand side bottom, and then I'll want 1 on the left hand side at the top. To reinforce them though, I'm just going to use some tear and tape just to give it that extra bit to glue itself onto. So just add that. And because it's a bulkier layer, I tend to like to use my tear tape for those kind of layers. So now that I have that all adhered on the back, I'm going to take back my actual vellum and just glue that on top. And the tricky part with vellum a lot of times is that it's hard to add glue onto it, doesn't matter what kind of glue, and not have it show through. So the great thing about adding that layer on there is that I can actually just add my snail adhesive or Mortear and tape and be able to hide that behind the layer. So we're going to put that onto our back card, and we just have the greeting that's left to do. There's lots of really nice greetings in this stamp set, so you can see there's Let It Ride, Take Life by the Reins, Live as if someone left the gate open, Go for it, and For You. I love the stamps that have both greetings and images together. So we're going to take our greeting stamp with the Early Espresso. Just stamp that on some scrap white. And then I'm using 2 punches. I've got my 1 3/4 punch, which is for my back circle. And then my 1 1/2, which is for my Whisper White greeting. So I've adhered both of those using snail, and then I'm just going to pop on a couple of dimensionals for the back and just pop that right onto my card in this corner. So there you go. This is today's card. I hope you really enjoyed it, and I will see you on the next Stamping 411. Bye!